The top 1% closers that are making 10 times more than you are not smarter than you. They just do things differently. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what those differences are, what the best closers do consistently, and how you can start applying these into your process today. Now, before we get into it, if you're new here, my name is Christian Jack. I've generated over $100 million over the last 3 years inside of sales, and I consistently coach some of these top 1% salespeople inside of the industry, people making over 100 grand a month, people topping leaderboards on every offer that they ever go to. And this is what gives me the credibility to actually show you what the top 1% are doing, because I literally work with them day in, day out. So let's get into it. The first thing that top closers do differently is they don't avoid discomfort. If anything, the biggest thing that I've seen from top performing sales professionals is that they actually lean into the discomfort because they have a different relationship with it than most people do. See, most people, when they see discomfort, when they don't make the money that they want to make, when they're taking too many calls, when they're working too many hours, when they're getting objections, whatever, they view it as a bad thing. Discomfort equals bad. However, the top performers that I've seen actually look at it as the opposite. These uncomfortable things are actually very exciting, because when you see something that's uncomfortable, what it means is that you've changed the status quo, right? There's a dojo value that we talk about inside the sales dojo, is that problems indicate progress. If there's no problems, then that means that you're not progressing in any way. You're comfortable. You're just keeping the status quo. You're doing the same thing over and over and over. But then as soon as a problem arises, it is an indicator that the status quo has now changed. And so when the status quo changes, that means that there's an opportunity to grow. And these top performers lean into that growth every single time. They don't act like they know everything. They're highly coachable. They bring calls to sales huddles. They want feedback. They're always sharpening the sword. I can tell you name after name of people inside of the sales dojo that have 4x, 5x, 10x their commissions in a matter of weeks, in a matter of months. And the same thing happens every time. They show up to calls, they bring call reviews, they ask what they can improve on, and they always prepare questions before coaching sessions. They always come prepared with things to ask. They're always DMing me, asking what they can improve on, asking how they could have done this better. They're always sharpening the sword. Whereas the average sales rep will just avoid that discomfort entirely in every area of their life. Whereas top closers and top setters, top sales professionals create discomfort on purpose, because they know that growth doesn't come from keeping the status quo. The second thing that I've seen from top performers that, number one, gets them to become top performers, but then also keeps them there over a long period of time. And I'm talking years, decades sometimes, not just weeks or months. They keep investing in themselves. Imagine the 10K a month rep, right? As soon as they hit 10K a month, they hit their first goal. Hoorah, we're making 6 figures in sales. Fantastic. They're going to start coasting. I've seen it time and time and time again. So many reps stuck in, I mean, there's a couple of different levels, but really anywhere south of like 25 grand a month, I would say, is really average, like very, very average. That's most people that I see. And even more of those are at like 15K a month or less. That's even more average. Whereas the person that is earning 30, 40, 50, 70, 80K a month, they reinvest aggressively into trainings, into mentorships, into their mindset, into their health. The top performers treat this game like a sport. If you think about somebody who is a professional athlete, let's take Steph Curry as an example. He invests a very, very disproportionate amount of time, effort, and energy into practice over performance. Whereas most salespeople take it the opposite. They'll take 8 hours of work in a day, taking calls, doing dials, texting leads, right, taking Zoom calls, whatever. And then they'll spend maybe 1 or 2 hours practicing. And it absolutely blows my mind. But if you look at Steph Curry, he takes minimum 500 shots a day, 7 days a week. That's 3,500 shots a week over the course of his 15-year professional career, which he was actually doing this before he became pro. But 15 years of actually doing this, he's taken 2 million practice shots. Do you know how many shots he's actually taken in games? It's 3,600, somewhere around there, 3,600 out of 2 million shots that he practiced. That is less than 0.1%. And yet you're here working for 8 hours a day and then practicing for only like 25% of the actual game time, like you have it flipped. You have it completely backwards. The top performers practice more than they actually perform, and they invest so aggressively. I can't tell you how many top performers make 5-10 times as much as you do who's watching this video, but they don't actually keep the majority of it. They reinvest it aggressively. I can't tell you, even just the first real 2 years of my sales career, I made anywhere from like 5K a month when I was very first starting, 3K a month, maybe like my first month, all the way up through 100K a month. And like, I didn't keep any of it. I didn't keep hardly any of it at all. I always reinvested it into something. And so that's what actually took me on a very quick growth trajectory. And it's the thing that I see time and time again. There are people inside of my coaching that tell me, Christian, this is why I love paying you money, because they know that for every dollar they invest, they're going to get so much out that is more. So train harder, stop like quitting whenever you get to the next goal. If anything, that's the time to push harder. All right, I'm starting to rant, so I'm going to move on here. Number 3 thing that I've seen from top sales professionals is they know all of their word tracks, they know all of their questions, they know their process like the back of their hand. There's absolutely no excuse in sales for fumbling over your words. You have the same goddamn call day in, day out, oftentimes many times a day. Even if you're taking Zoom calls, you're having basically the same framework of a call 6 to 8 times a day on the low end. I took 36 calls at one point in my sales career per day. And so that was me having the same exact conversation 36 times a day. There is no reason that you should be fumbling over your word tracks, over your rebuttals, over your objection handles, over your discovery questions, over any of your reframes, any of it. You need to have practiced yours so much that the people around you are sick of hearing them. The people around you start saying, hey, you sound like the same on your calls versus off your calls. I can't tell you how many times I practice my word tracks in the shower, how many times I practice them on a walk, how many times I practice them with my wife. So much that my wife is like, hey, Christian, I'm kind of sick of hearing all this sales stuff. Can we just like do something else, right? And at which point I'd try to forget it and like try to spend family time, right? But also, even like some of the top performing dojo people that I've seen inside, they start talking more like the sales version of them in everyday speech. They start asking, what do you mean when something is unclear? They start wondering, well, what changed, right? They start asking these sales questions, just part of their everyday conversation, because it's so ingrained in them. They know it so much that it's no longer the game. The game is just their life. This is just who they are. The top performing salespeople don't miss the layups. They drill until it is completely automatic. If you've ever seen that 4-quadrant system of conscious versus unconscious, competence versus incompetence, it's 100% true. Most people start in sales as unconsciously incompetent, and then they realize that they suck. They're now consciously incompetent. And so then once they realize they suck, they start working on things. So then they become consciously competent. But then the next level is practicing those things so much that it becomes the 4th level, which is unconscious competence, where it is just habit. Steph Curry doesn't have to think when he shoots the ball. He just does it, turns around, walks the other direction, gets ready to play D, and then the ball goes in, swishes, crowd goes crazy. They're like, how in the world did he do it? It's because he goddamn practiced. Shocking, right? Now, point number 4 that I've seen with top performers as to why they become top performers and how they stay there is they are obsessed with why deals didn't close. Once you start making a lot of money and you start closing a lot of deals, there's actually fewer deals that don't close than do close, right? You start closing every deal that comes across your calendar, every deal that comes across your table. If you're a setter, you start setting every single one, and they're showing and they're closing. And so then you actually have more mental bandwidth to assess whenever things do go wrong. If a call doesn't close, right? If a lead doesn't show, if you're a setter. Now, these top performers, they don't blame the lead, they don't blame the offer, they don't blame the marketing. They ask, what did I do wrong? Where did I miss it? Where did I lose them? What should I have done differently? How could I have asked that question better? What didn't I ask the person that I maybe should have asked them? where could we have changed things in order to get that deal across the line? And they are completely obsessed with it. They don't just do this for, oh, I'm going to look at 1 or 2 of the deals that I lost this week and look at what happened. They're like, no, if I lost 5 deals this week, I'm watching every single one of those calls 10 times. And I want to know exactly what I did wrong. And I want to fix it so it doesn't happen ever again. And then they adjust. And that curiosity compounds over time. And it's really how they stop making the same mistake over and over again. Point number 5 is top performers take extreme ownership. This topic has been beaten to death, so I won't spend a lot of time on this. Everything is on you in your life. Stop passing the buck. Stop making excuses. Stop taking this Chihuahua type mindset into all of your calls and letting people off the hook. Stop living your life in a way where you are not the driver. At some level, I think the human brain is wired to want to be the passenger. And I get it. Like, most people in life don't want to be completely responsible for their own outcomes. They want it to be easy. They want somebody else to do it for them. They want it to be consistent. But at the end of the day, if you want certain results and you're not getting them, then there's something different that you have to do, right? The classic definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You are literally insane if you are not taking extreme ownership, if you are not seeing what you need to change in order to change your life. Great saying that I love is nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you're ready to actually make a change, if you're actually ready to learn what it takes to be in the true top 1%, if you want daily coaching, if you want live feedback on your calls, and the exact frameworks I teach all of my top closers who consistently top the leaderboards inside of the Sales Dojo, making 20, 30, 50, 100K a month, join the Sales Dojo at the link down in the description. It is completely free for the first 7 days. There's no risk, only upside. Hit the link in the description and get inside, and I'll see you there.